Good evening, everyone. This is Atmospheric Alex here, back with another severe weather outlook and discussion video talking about all the upcoming significant severe weather chances today, potentially even tomorrow, Monday, and Tuesday as well. We are talking about a really busy week of severe weather, starting off with today, starting off the Saturday, where we do have a moderate risk for severe weather, a 4 out of 5 on the severe weather scale. So, I mean, a pretty big outbreak is about to be underway here. And, well, by the time you're watching this video, it probably already is occurring. So, something important to note, but you could see how large this risk area is here. And once again, we are talking about a 10% chance of strong tornadoes. We even have that little area down here. We have a 2 out of 3 on the intensity scale in that secondary hatched area. So something we need to really watch out for. In terms of wind, we have a 30% wind risk. But for hail, we do have, once again, a 45% hail risk. Once again, a 2 out of 3 on the intensity scale. I am very concerned about large, gigantic hail today, especially on the southwestern portion of that risk area. As we head into tomorrow, there are going to be a lot of changes potentially in this forecast. As of right now, we are talking about an enhanced risk of severe weather for portions of Kansas, Nebraska, and Missouri. However, things could change quite significantly. We could see, that enhanced risk get shifted further off to the south, maybe, with due time, because we are talking about an extraordinarily volatile environment for violent tornadoes potentially in western and central Oklahoma. Not a forecast, but there's a possibility, a very slim chance, if a storm could break through a warm, dry air layer aloft, things could get bad quite quickly, especially overnight. And again, 10% chance of tornadoes. Watch that tongue into Oklahoma. I do think a lot will change with that. We are talking about a 30% chance of wind, and for hail, 30% hatched risk of hail as well. As we move into Monday, Monday is going to be a very big day for quite a lot of people here. A very large enhanced risk has been issued. Look at this. Millions of people are underneath this risk. I forgot the exact number, but we're talking about portions of Iowa, Wisconsin, Illinois, Indiana, Kentucky, Tennessee, Arkansas, and Missouri, all in the threat here, and we could potentially even see a moderate risk get issued in the middle of this, or maybe even the southern extent of this. But this day has my full concern, and we do currently have a 1 out of 3 in the intensity scale, but I do expect a 2 out of 3 in the intensity scale. Could we see something higher? I don't really believe so as of yet, but we'll continue to monitor that. Now, taking a look at Tuesday's risk, I strongly believe that this will undergo some upgrades in the next few days. Tuesday does look like another significant day of severe weather, especially for West Tennessee, Southwest Kentucky, Southeastern Missouri, actually really going to be within this area here where we're probably going to be talking about some significant severe weather on Tuesday. That is something we need to watch out for very closely because tornado probabilities are climbing quite rapidly on some miles, but we currently have a slight risk. Again, an enhanced risk upgrade is very likely. I do expect a day 3 enhanced risk for that day. Now, as we go ahead and take a look at how tomorrow could play out, is definitely quite interesting here on the models. You see a little bit of what looks to be almost like a pseudo meso-low / low pressure system moving up through western Oklahoma, kind of bringing all the dry line energy up with it. But that's not the main area we're focusing on at the moment. We're focusing up here in Kansas. And take a look at this. We are talking about some pretty intense supercell development as we head into tomorrow evening there, around Garden City, Kansas, around, Dodge City, Kansas as well, kind of in that area. And we're also left with a lot of strange convective features stringing down into western Oklahoma, well displaced from your most volatile environment along what should be your dry line. As we continue throughout the evening, these cells absolutely explode. So this right here is a very big issue, and I would not be surprised if we see an intense to violent tornado off of this supercell here, moving through Pratt, Kansas. Not a forecast, but, we will see the exact placement tomorrow. This one up near Hayes, Lincoln, Kansas up there could also be a pretty big issue as well. But as we take a look further off to the south, we see more vigorous convective features, say near Woodward, Oklahoma, kind of situating themselves along these horizontal convective rolls. And this could potentially cause Oklahoma to maybe get a little bit more than what they bargained for. And we got to really hope that doesn't happen. And as we head later into the night, our ingredients, our environment really explodes out there. I mean, our supercell composites are really high. Look at that supercell there. Look at that one up there. I mean, we are talking about a lot of problems. This is going to be going into tomorrow night, so a nocturnal tornado threat / potentially even outbreak. We'll keep an eye on that. Could be possible. We see more cells after midnight firing up in Kansas as well. I mean, it's just not done. And it just continues to go on and on and on. And this is just quite insane right here. Moving off to the northeast. So we have a lot to look at for tomorrow night for sure. What you'll see here on your HRRR is all your moisture streaming northward here. Look at this. We are talking about dew points, getting closer to 70 there. Where your cells fire could be in the mid 60s. And then here you go. You have this massive plume of storm energy here moving into Oklahoma. And that could also trigger more storm initiation in Kansas. We'll talk about Oklahoma in a minute. All right, we have other displays for that. I don't want to go over that just yet. As we take a look at our storm energy here, again, focusing in on Kansas here, you can see we have a nice little mesolow kind of forming right within here, a little arc there. And we are expected to see supercells fire off of, say the left edge of the arc. So, something very interesting to note. This moves into a very volatile environment, upwards of 3,000 to 3,500 storm energy as we go into tomorrow night, and then some cells off to the north of that, kind of taking up your energy as well. As we take a look at your 3 cape here, you can see kind of a bit of a bullseye there. Look at that right along your curly Q. We are talking about 103 cape, so that is going to be very crucial in storm initiation. I strongly believe that we could see a pretty vigorous supercell right within here in southern Kansas, maybe even northern Oklahoma, with where that 3 cape is set up. And look at that, just a lot of energy in your 0 to 3 kilometer levels of your atmosphere. As we take a look at your spinach here, your 0 to 1 kilometer helicity, you can see we definitely have quite a lot of it there. Look at that. And if we kind of look at this a bit closer here, we are talking about values that could potentially, like I said, support maybe an intense to a violent tornado. We're talking about our red colors, isolated white colors right within there, upwards of 400 to 500 plus 0 to 1 kilometer helicity. And that storm just continues in that intense environment. We have one following up here. And as we take a look at our supercell composite, when you smash all your parameters together, again, very volatile environment is going to be in place. Look at that. Talking about pink colors all over your screen there. Talking about purple colors occasionally as well. And your wind shear really ramps up overnight. That is a screaming lower level jet if I've ever seen one. Your southern mode here going into basically the majority of Oklahoma. You can see your meso low pushing on off up into Oklahoma. All your moist air to follow as we head later on through into the evening, into the overnight hours. You can see another massive burst of instability out here moves through, and certainly, like I said, we're really going to have to watch the dry line, I think. I mean, I know this is kind of getting later in the night, but you're going to see these little kind of bulges like right within here, or we could potentially see storm initiation. And I'm going to show you a little more proof to the pudding as to why that could happen. Our storm energy here, we're talking upwards even over 4,000 cape here. That looks quite vigorous. I mean, look at that. As we go further off to the west, quite an intense and sharp dry line for sure. As we take a look at our 3 cape, and this is why I'm kind of concerned about storm initiation here along our dry line. Our first part of our dry line here is very fascinating, and we are talking about a lot of 3 cape here. So we could potentially see supercells fire off of that in that environment. As that pushes off to the north, you could see that arc right there. Northern Oklahoma, you really need to watch out, those areas in there. And you can see it kind of stays. And I kind of want to note these little features. So we see these little just these little strange anomalies that kind of pop off here along our main dry line. This is really in response to due to our horizontal convective rolls. And we're going to explain that a little bit more when we get to our helicity segment, but these right here could force a little bit more convection than you typically would see along a classic dry line setup, especially going later into the night. But you can see, look at that at 4Z. Yeah, we sure do have a pocket there of quite high 3 cape. So it's a concern, right? I mean, you could see storms, very intense storms firing along the dry line well into the night. Like, this is not going to be a thing where, oh, the threat will stop at 8 p.m. This right here is 11 p.m. and we've got signals here for maybe something to go. So yeah, we need to watch this closely. Oklahoma, stay very weather aware, please. And our 0 to 1 kilometer helicity here, and this is going to look very strange. You're going to think we have storms popping along the dry line when in reality, it's these horizontal convective rolls. This right here, you see all these weird splotches that kind of develop along your dry line, like that right there. You see one right within here. You see one right there. You see yet another one up here. These horizontal convective rolls are very fascinating to me, right? So these could provide additional forcing even in a highly capped environment. Basically, think about how mountains work. Think about how wind can go over mountains, right? You think about these as mountains. Your winds coming out of the south right here are actually going to be moving upwards as they move over your roll and down your roll on the other side. So my current thought process here is that we're going to have a lot of cape in this area, and if we have a ton of lift, a ton of air going up, all right, up and over the roll, upwards, that could potentially force out a supercell or two in an area where they really shouldn't be at that time of night, and especially in an environment we don't want them to be in. And you could see, yeah, I mean, there is a lot of helicity out there, so we really need to keep an eye on this. But for sure, I am very concerned about these HCRs that develop later on into the night. And I think a pretty nasty surprise could occur out of one of these rolls. And saying this is a volatile environment is an understatement. As you can see here, we are talking about some extremely high values of supercell composite. You can see where your roll's set up where there isn't as much, but like, right on the front there, you can see you do have a volatile environment, some pinks and purples across the board here. That is going to be very dangerous. Now, after that super detailed explanation on what could happen tomorrow, we're going to go ahead and move into a Monday here. Again, Monday is going to be a pretty significant day out there. You can see we have a very large area with a very favorable environment here, according to our NAM model. What I want to note, though, is we do have a lot of morning convection that moves through portions of Kansas, Missouri, Illinois up here that could actually really limit our northern mode of the risk. So that's something we really need to keep in mind here. But you can see a lot of other areas here down to the south remain quite favorable, and that is going to cause quite a big issue as we head into the evening. So as you can see, a lot of severe thunderstorms up here do break out pretty quickly. Those are all going to be elevated, though at least a grand majority of them will be elevated. So that is some pretty good news as of right now. However, if we don't see that morning convection, this could potentially wind up being a very serious tornado outbreak threat up there. But I am going to go ahead and zoom into an area of really big concern. I think that this is just the NAM model, obviously, things will change, but I want you to really notice something here. So, we're kind of going on through time. We see a supercell develop here in southeastern Missouri, moving into southern Illinois. What I also see is two confluence bands that really have my attention. You can see kind of right within here, we have a pretty strong looking confluence band, and then we have another one right here kind of going off to the south. And this again is just a NAM model, but if we do see any supercells that fire off of these confluence bands, they will more than likely stay at least semi-discrete in nature and could definitely become a very huge problem as we go later into Monday evening. We could be talking about, like I said, a strong to intense tornado threat, potentially, like I said, even violent a little bit further north you go, especially with that supercell there. And all this right here, that really concerns me. Seeing kind of your separated convection there on your NAM model, that could very easily trend upwards into more intense supercells, and you still have all of this down here that's just kind of sitting there. Again, nothing forms off of it, but this is just one model run. NAM can underdo convection sometimes, but you can see later into the night this all develops into one gigantic line of severe thunderstorms as we zoom out a little bit here. And we're going to be quite concerned about this, as this will have an all hazards risk of, damaging to potentially destructive 60 to 80 plus mile an hour winds, large to maybe even very large hail, and strong tornadoes, along that line there. So we really need to pay attention to this risk closely. Now, as we take a look at our moisture transfer, our dew points are going to be pretty high into Monday here. You can see upwards in the 60s and 70s across our wide open warm sector, kind of all throughout this area right here. My pen tooled work. All throughout here, we do have quite favorable dew points. But I mean, again, look at that confluence zone right down there. Gonna have to keep our eyes on that. We're going to have a lot of storm energy available too, really between 3,000 and 4,000 Cape across a really large area. So again, all eyes are going to be on the open warm sector to see what could form in this volatile environment. I know I've said volatile a lot this video. There's some high-end days coming up, I'll tell you. But for sure, a lot of Cape involved with this. As we take a look at our helicity here, 0 to 1 kilometer spin in our atmosphere, there's going to be quite a lot of it, especially as we get a little bit later on. You can see, I have to note, again, our confluence band right here. I think that's a pretty good image to stop on. You can almost see it here. There's like this line, but we're going to start right here, where we have, locally higher values of helicity, of spin in our atmosphere. So there just seems to be these little pockets that are a lot more favorable than others that we really have to watch out for. And then going later on to the night, the whole area becomes favorable for tornadoes as your lower level jet continues to ramp up. Our supercell composites will be very elevated, on Monday here. You could see volatile environment throughout this entire zone. And then even stretching down into West Tennessee, our volatile environment does stretch all the way down in some of these areas as well. So yeah, I'm going to have to keep my eyes on this. This could be a very big problem for my area for sure. And this really continues to move through, and still, even after midnight, red colors on your screen. That's never a good sign. Now we're going to briefly tap Tuesday here. I'm going to have to do, yet again, another upload. Despite me being kind of busy, information needs to get out. But this is for Tuesday here. You can see a wide open warm sector yet again across this whole area. 70-degree dew points infiltrating a lot of areas there. As we head into our storm energy, we are talking about a lot of it here, between 4,000, even 5,000 storm energy in some areas. And Tuesday really has my attention. Maybe a more elongated risk, maybe some localized risks in between, but certainly Tuesday going to be a big day for sure. It's what I'm thinking right now. You can see our 0 to 1 kilometer helicity really ramps up as we go into the overnight hours here. Strong tornado potential here. You can see some of your yellow colors there. As we take it a step further, nocturnal tornado potential is going to be a major issue along that boundary and just to the south of that boundary. And I mean, look at that environment. That is deeply concerning for sure. Our supercell composites are going to be very elevated, and yet again, another volatile environment will occur on Tuesday. We cannot stop saying the V word. The first V word and then the second V word, if you know what I mean. We have two V words, geez. And you could see, once again, pocket of higher wind shear in the equation as well. I mean, there's so much going on. This is remarkable. With that being said, I really hope you all enjoyed today's video. I do apologize if this video was a bit longer than normal, but man, I had a lot of difficulty recording this video. I don't know what it was. I was struggling a lot. I was slipping over my words a lot. I had to cut a lot of the video out. Something about today, I don't know, it's just kind of weird. But anyways, if you all enjoyed today's video, please be sure to smash that like button, subscribe to my little corner of the weather community, share this video with friends, family on social media, and even leave a comment in the section below if you wish. Have a wonderful night, everyone. Stay extraordinarily weather aware over the next few days. All right, I'll see you all very soon.